Hello, welcome back to BlenderSushi live coding. The other day I saw this Twitter by Jack Lux. It's a retweet of this video tutorial by Thinking Penguin. So far I found there are two very useful videos from Thinking Penguin. It's the first one, if you want to start, you better look at this one first, the Blender Animation Nodes data types. This is gonna talk about integer, floats, boolean strings, like it's in the description here below. I really like his explanations, and it's really good 15 minutes kind of video. Definitely recommend it. And I saw also this Blender Animation Nodes random lines, another example by Thinking Penguins. And this is kind of interesting for me, and I think I want to try to recreate this kind of effects. But instead of using animation nodes, I will use Sverchok because I'm using both of them. Let's take a quick look at this one, just skipping the video. Basically, the idea is he has like a lines, curved lines created using animation nodes, and it's being deformed by a single curve, which is Blender's own curve modifier, and the curve is kind of growing. This is kind of like the growing kind of effects. Very cool. It's a cool classic effects, but this is really nice, the way he set it up and how he explained it using animation nodes. I really like big thumb for Thinking Penguin to do this. Okay, let's try to recreate this using Sverchok. Kind of similar idea. I just need to break it down a little bit. So if we are actually thinking to do it using just manually, I'll show you how we do it. We start with a curve first. So an interesting curve like the spiral, Archimedean spiral. Okay, that's that might be what we need. How many turn? 3. The height will give you that. Radius. Radius growth. Maybe grow in or grow out. Whichever you choose. I think grow out should be good. Wonder if we need a height. Maybe zero out the height for now and just make it something like this. Grow. Okay, that's our curve for starter. File, save as. This is gonna be SV inspired by Thinking Penguin multi lines. Okay, we know the fact from by watching Thinking Penguin videos, you know that we can kind of recreate that kind of effects using Blender on array modifier. So this is like, if you're a Blender artist for a long time, you probably already know this trick. It's rather interesting. And if you use curve modifier and just specifying the spiral curve, since our objects kind of grow in the z-axis, we can specify the z, and then we can grow like that. And at one point it's gonna stop like that, and it's gonna continue on depending on the last end of curve. And if you actually push this guy in the z directions, this kind of create that kind of moving animations, moving along curve. So that's a cool effect. I like that. What I learned from Thinking Penguin video is that apparently we can just duplicate that objects because it's still keeping the modifier. That's how it works with animation nodes instancing as well. So if you make like an instance, like duplicate it, you can basically keep doing that many times with slight positional randomization. You will get this kind of really abstract looking multiple cables look. So that's okay. Knowing that recipe, like we can try to recreate that in Sverchok. Okay, save, compositing. Let's go to Sverchok, create a new node 3, and let's start with a line. We're gonna do the same thing, you know, just create line and then let it grow in the Z directions. It depends what you want to do. Let's do it in the Z directions. By default, of course, line nodes is growing in the x-axis. We can change the directions by using the vector out, vector in. And just pipe in the x into the z, I believe. And oops, actually this is vector in, vector out. So x goes to the z. Okay, that's yeah, that's pretty much what we need actually. And of course this is just like a viewer, but if you want to do it, if you want to apply modifier, you need to use the real thing, like a bmesh mk2 node can do that. And plug into that guy, actually this guy, and the edges, and we should have a line. And this line is like a live. You can always make changes to this line, you know, make it shorter and whatnot. With that being alive, and we can apply curve modifier in this is pretty much almost like complete kind of effects, because we can just grow the line like that and we are done with it, you know. This is the effects. And if you're thinking, okay, but I want to have like a multiple lines, okay, you might be thinking, okay, we can use matrix in, and we can use a random vector, have like a multiple of these. The problem with this is we have like a multiple objects, and in animation nodes you can use object instancer, and when you are doing duplications the modifier goes with it. With Sverchok currently I don't think you can do that. I'm not sure if you can use the instancer to do that, but anyway, what's cool about Sverchok is you can merge the objects. Okay, by merging the object you actually have a single output. Here you can see just a single object, and we have the multiple lines already, and we can control the scale, and we can control the count, and we can have as many as we want, even like 1000 lines. This will still pretty fast, and we have that kind of effects happening, and then we can still control the stepping and the number of vertices, and then everything just works for us really quickly and really nicely. In fact, if you want, you can also kind of doing some randomization, maybe random input vertices, and give it a little bit of amplitude, plug into the right thing, and we have that kind of effects. Very nice. Let's reduce the count for now. Currently, I believe we have randomization happenings on every lines the same way. We can randomize the seed. So depending on the count, how many lines we have? We have 20 lines, so 20 seed number, plug into that guy. Now we have a total randomness. So that's yeah, that's cool. That's pretty much it. If you want to, you know, if you want to turn it into curve, you can do that. Maybe I'll apply the deformer for now and kind of show you. Convert to curve, and then with this guy we can extrude it and add depth, and this become like a real object you can render. But remember that Sverchok is a node-based system, which means you can just make changes here. Instead of using line, you can use cylinder. Let's do that. real quick actually. So let's delete the line, use cylinder, and we don't actually need this vector out, vector in, because cylinder grows in the Z direction. Let's cut this randomized input vertices for now. If we just plug that in, and with the polygon, what's the result we get? The cool thing is Sverchok remembers the data that output from this guy, which is called alpha, and then it applies the modifier into it. So we can now just control the radius a little bit, and vertices is the resolution of the cylinder, the height. So we have subdivision. Yes, I think we have it. We have it there. So we can increase the height. The height should increase together with the subdivision. So I reckon it's better if we just use a integer number for that. Plug that in and plug that in. Just increase it, and then just change the radius. Make it 0.02, and subdivision we can have more. Perhaps the subdivision number can be twice as many. Yeah, something like that, maybe twice as many. So, or three times as many, so it's smoother. And the effect is similar. You can still do the growing effect. If we actually, for the height, just use a floating number, plug that in and plug that in, so it's still gonna work. That's for the growing effects. We can adjust the scaling of the cable. We can increase or decrease the count, and the result is this single object. And that's actually a good thing. With a single object, if you look at the outliner, that's the output, okay? Single objects with many of these cable objects, just one single object. Maybe one thing that might be tricky is to give a different color for each cables, but I think we can do that using cycles. I have to have a look, but for now I'm just worried about this structure. Yeah, we kind of have it. We could actually do a little bit more with the vertices here, because we are dealing with a cylinder object. We need to be careful. We can't just plug in a randomization there. Maybe vector noise will be good for that. But remember, this is not like a single lines. It's a different thing if we have single lines and we kind of do the lofting of circle along the lines. This is probably more ideal, but we are dealing with an actual cylinder, and we don't have like a stem, unless we are using like I don't know. There might be like a Sverchok own tool to do the lofting. I can't remember, but if we are using vector noise here and then vector math, kind of wondering what's the effect's gonna be. Yeah, that's kind of nice. Actually, not too bad. If we use create a duplicate here and then apply multiply scalar into this guy and use float. That would control the power of the noise. Oh, actually that's actually working really well. Obviously the noise is currently the same, but we have the seed here and we can adjust the seed to get a different effects. Randomize noise range integer. How many do we have? 20? 20, just plug that in. And now for each line we have a different noise, and yeah, so we have that similar effects to the Thinking Penguin video made using animation nodes. That's a really good example. I really highly recommend you to watch that one video. But yeah, you can do the same thing using Sverchok and with much less nodes. It's because Sverchok can do like a multiple data array of data at the same time, and the advantage or the difference here is that we merge all the lines and we have a single output for every line. So you, by doing this, you cannot go to cycles and apply material and you expect it to use the object info node. So you can't do that. I'll show you what I mean. So that's the material. You can't just plug in the random and using the color ramp gradient. No, I don't think that's gonna work. You have to do it differently. So that's the only thing. You can use HSV and clockwise and have like the rainbow color, but the effects will not happen here. You need to there must be another way to do this. Let me stop it. So the idea is, okay, if you have multiple objects and then you merge them together, how are you gonna apply a different color to each one of them? They are single objects, and I wonder if cycles can do that. You can, if you just use noise texture. Obviously you can fake it. But still, that's not the most ideal. But yeah, sometimes ideally sometimes you actually want to use particles for this, you know, just trace the particles, and with the trace line you want to give a different color. I think many Blender artists always want to do that. It can be done once the particle system become like a node base, but for now you can do it using Sverchok. So basically I will summarize what's happening. So using Sverchok you can generate lines, and you can generate multiple lines just by using this matrix duplications. You can have like 50 lines, no problem. In fact, I can make like 1,000 lines. This is like, it's gonna be like 1,000 cylinder, and we need to have 1,000 variation of the noise for each of the cylinder. Normally it's really hard to do, but this has become so easy thanks to a lot of effort from developer. Actually, this is Sverchok working together with a Blender Curve modifier. Curve modifier does the hard part to for the curve, but Sverchok node here also does the hard part generating all the cylinder. If you really want, you can randomize the height of the cylinder. That's actually another different thing that you can do in Sverchok. Not so easy in animation nodes. So if you use like a random float, range float, I'm gonna save this and save out. You can generate like a different height of this guy. Start, stop. Actually, instead of range float, you can use a random number generator. Make it like 50. Use float. what's the height gonna be. This is gonna be the randomness between this value, low and high, and plug that into the high. You can now have more variations. So let's say you have a number here, float, and you have this another number that's give the offset. It's gonna be the float low and float height. Let's give it like 10 and 50 and plug this into that guy. Maybe it's too much. Let's make it just like that. So there's a slight variations with the number, with the length of the cylinder now. Subdivisions, okay, just make it like 50 for now. And we can control the growing of the cylinder using this value. This is still really fast and interactive. I'm using really old computer, but this is like very low in memory because Blender normally, I think Blender doesn't like too many objects. Like I said, over 1000 objects and Blender start to slow down. But if you merge all those objects into single objects, or you use like special Blender thing like object instancing, like particle instance here, you can use this kind of effects in a much more efficient kind of way. Do look at the particles instance. Actually, I did some effects in the past where it's like a kind of like a line growing in multiple directions. It's almost like a Blender particle hair, and with that hair you can have a million of hair and it's still very efficient for Blender. So there's something to think about. If you once you're dealing with many objects and many data, array of data, you have to think about efficiency, and that's a very important thing. But anyway, that's for another video, I guess. But this is like pretty cool effects. I'm pretty happy with this, that I can simulate this effect. Obviously, you can do the same thing using animation nodes already, but you feel like try it using Sverchok as well. If you're like more advanced, looking for another way to do it, try using this, and you can randomize the radius top and radius bottom as well. Yeah, it's really powerful. Okay, so it's just another way, another solutions for that same problem. Basically, you look at this one problem and then you can always find different ways to do it and then find the one that works for you. I guess that's my main point. I think thanks again for Thinking Penguin channel for the idea and inspirations, and Jack Lux for animation nodes, and thanks also to Sverchok developer for this amazing tool. Yeah, it's become so easy. That's always I had in my why suddenly this thing becomes so easy. I don't know. It used to be really hard to do this kind of thing. Anyway, any comments, suggestion, just leave it down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.